Hey there, I'm Roeder, and I was lucky enough to rope my friend Derek Halpern in today. And Derek is a traffic expert and a conversion expert. What I'm even more interested right now is the conversions. So Derek is a master at turning your traffic into leads and also a master at getting tons of traffic. He knows way more about it than I do, and lately he's been doing some site reviews for showing you how to make your site convert better. So I wanted free consulting from him, and I thought I could do it under the guise of making this a video for you to watch as well. So I'm really excited to see what he has to say about my site, and I'm sure you can learn a lot about what to put in place on your site as well. So thanks, Derek.
Hey Laura, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Something funny to tell you right off the bat. I just realized I have headphones on and my sound isn't even working, so I could take these off during a review.
All right.
But so I'm really excited to be doing this with you, and I think a lot of the opportunities you have on your site are something that a lot of your readers will probably have these same opportunities, because it's very easy to overlook some of these things, and the reason why it's so easy is because they're usually small little tweaks, and when you know how to implement these small tweaks, they can lead to massive results. So I want to just kind of go through all these tweaks that you can make to your site, and we can talk about how that's going to impact your business.
Perfect.
All right?
Let's get into it.
Let's just start with your main goal. Your main goal of your site is obviously to generate more leads and to make sales, right?
Yep.
All right, so most of this view...
Getting opt-ins is big, and then if they buy something too, that's great.
All right, cool. All right, so most of this review will be tailored around how to turn Laura Roeder's site into a site that generates leads a little bit better than it does now. I think right now she's doing a great job, but let's just start with a few quick hits. First goal, I want to take a look at your About page.
All right.
Now, your About page is great. I love how personal it is, especially on a lauraroeder.com site. So you need to be talking about you, and you need to make sure you're explaining to people what you can offer them. But the one thing I think you're missing out on here is a more descriptive headline.
Mm-hmm.
So even though when people click about, they expect to see more about you, you just need to turn about into a headline for people to read, as opposed to just a regular about title. The other thing that you really want to do for this particular page is focus on giving people exactly what they want. So let's think about the mindset of your viewer for a second. When people visit whatever page they visit, they see your About link, they click it. They're expecting to learn about you and your business and what you can offer them. Mm-hmm. Right now, your About page has a lot of distractions on the page that isn't related to exactly that. So to kind of streamline your page, I would get rid of your sidebar on this page completely. And I would center your content right underneath, you know, right under, like kind of just center your content column underneath your navigation and header area.
Yeah.
Now, this works because there's something I call one page, one goal, where if you want to really increase the conversion rates of a page, you want to make sure that the goal of that page is inherently clear. When you get rid of that sidebar, the goal of the page becomes a little bit more clear, and it's all about reading your About page. Now, to actually turn the page into a lead generation page, you want to put an opt-in form in your About page. Mm-hmm. In your particular case, I think you could do very well with adding that form below your first 3 paragraphs, centered underneath your picture in the first 3 paragraphs, the first form. Then you have some more content published around the web, and then I put another form, and then you'd have speaking, for example. I would put 3 forms on this particular page, because in my testing I've noticed when I had 3 forms on my page, it really increased conversion rates, and different people filled out forms in different places. And just making this one tweak will get you a ton of leads. And just to give you an example, I remember I told Pat Flynn to do this, and he had told me, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this, but I don't think he's going to mind, but he implemented the About page form on his site, and like in one day he got an additional 20-something leads.
Wow.
Just by putting it in to the page itself. Now, here's the other thing that you can do with the About page. I usually have a formula that people can follow. So the formula that I tend to follow, and I found it has worked really well for me, is the first section of the About page will be all about what you offer people and what they can get out of your site. Then I usually have an opt-in form. Then I usually do testimonials of some kind. And I know you've got some, it doesn't have to be testimonials. It could be social proof, like a social proof section. And I see you have that there where you've mentioned that you've been a speaker at numerous influential conferences, etc. You can kind of put that there, then an opt-in form. And then the last part, you could put the other stuff like publish around the web, speaking engagements, kind of really blow that out. I don't think you need to do that. I was just sharing this formula for people who are listening where it's easy, just a 3-step formula. What you offer people, opt-in form. Social proof, opt-in form. And then about you, opt-in form.
Great.
All right?
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next section.
Should we do shop?
Yeah, let's take a look at shop. Shop's a good one. All right, so the point of your shop page is obviously to highlight all the different products you have for sale. And the way it's currently set up is a little confusing because you kind of have a full page layout, like a full width layout, and you have text centered above all of your products. Now, when you're using a single column template like this, you create what they call a top-down flow. So when people visit here, they expect to consume content from a top-down manner, whereas right now, you go from 0 to Facebook to down, then you might not necessarily, you might skip creating fame by accident and then go to the right. It kind of makes people's eyes drag all over the place. And I think that you'd see some improvements here if you made it completely top-down. Now, the other thing, I really love your product names, but I would love to see you split test your bullets. I think you have a ton of bullets here, and that kind of gets people to click, but I think you might not need that many bullets for some of your products. I think you might benefit from maybe using only 3 to 4 bullets as opposed to 10. I think 1,000,000 bullets is good, and it's good for sales pages. But I think here, your main goal of this page is to get people from this page to one of the individual product pages. Whereas right now, you're trying to sell all your products on one page.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Now, the way I'd recommend setting this up is, I notice you don't list prices of things here, and I think that's okay. But you could also... I think creating fame is your that's your flagship product, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So I would like even go down from putting creating fame first, then put the other products below creating fame, and maybe you can call out creating fame and label that your flagship product because I know that's one of your more expensive products. And right now, it has the least amount of content. You click there, and it could shock people. And maybe potentially turn people off. Like, you know, they might see that you're charging X amount of dollars for creating fame, and then they'll assume that all your other products must cost the same price. Whereas if you put creating fame on top and then put a little note saying, like, this is my flagship training product or something like that, they'll know that this is different from the rest, which could be good because it'll potentially send more targeted leads your way.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Now... another thing I think you would do well with implementing on this page is, well, I kind of like how everything is set up really well with click here to learn more, and I like how everything is coinciding with your color scheme, but the click here to learn more buttons don't stand out. And there's something else I call it action colors, and I tend to use action colors on my site for when I want people to take action. And to really break this down, I tend to use a specific color for buttons that people need to click on, and that's different from the overall color scheme.
So what's a good action color for these buttons?
On your site, I think orange would work real well. I think purple might work, and I think red might work. The one thing I also want to clarify for everyone who's listening, just because these colors work for your site, it doesn't mean those are the colors that'll convert the highest. The reason why these colors work on Laura Roeder is because you have a green-based design. So generally, you want to pick the complement to your green-based design, which in this case could be red, it could be kind of be purple. So there's different colors. You want it to be different from everything else.
Okay. Well, purple is the opposite of green on the color wheel.
Yeah. So, I mean, purple might work. I'm not sure how... I mean, it's kind of hard to read on purple, but, you know, it's worth testing.
Yeah.
Just testing the colors here.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, and the last step is I think you need some more copy above your products. Like, before you just jump in and try to get people to start buying your stuff, I think you do very well with just introducing what this page is. You know, put a headline, put some introductory content along the lines of, hey, these are all the products I've got. I've got one type of product for you for every stage of business you're in, you know, and you can kind of give some intro content before you throw them into your product descriptions as they go down the page.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I kind of need to sell what the page is a little bit. Like, again, with the headline, you said I need a better headline on about. Shop is a pretty weak headline.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, shop is good. That gets people in a buying mood, but maybe even like, you know, products might be a better word to call this.
Well, I'm just thinking like social media marketing shop, you know, just adding something more to it.
I think it's good. I think it's worth taking a look at where you can definitely get a more descriptive headline. That way you don't throw people into the sales process. You kind of get them ready. There's something that I learned in Why We Buy by Paco Underhill. And he had found that when people walk into a store, like a actually brick and mortar shop, the first like 10 feet of where they walked in was completely, you know, it was completely invisible to people because he found that people needed a landing strip as they walked into the store. And I think on a page like shop, you kind of need that landing strip. Before you throw people to the products, you kind of want to get them situated with where they are, why they're here, and what they're going to get out of this page.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, cool. Now, let's go on to your free stuff page. All right. I think this is a good page. The one thing I'm concerned with, and it's not something that you got to be really, really obsessed about, but I've been testing some different widths on pages, and I've noticed that when you use a really long width like this, it makes people not want to read what's on the page. And there was a study done by, I can't remember the study right now, but there's a study about line length where people who saw shorter line lengths actually thought the content was easier to read and more inviting. Whereas, and they actually, then when polled, they would swear that they could read shorter line lengths faster.
Well, I guess
now,
you
here's
can
the funny
read each line faster if there's only a few words on it.
Yeah, so that's what people were thinking.
Yeah.
But the study found out that people could actually read longer line lengths faster. But when they saw those longer line lengths, they were turned off and probably wouldn't even read the page.
Wow.
So I know you study copywriting, and I'm sure you've heard this before, where if you get people to read the first like 4 sentences of your copy, you'll be able to get them to read the whole thing.
Right.
So something that I always use on almost all my pages is I like to start all of my copy off with a thin line length, maybe between 40 and 70 characters. And then I like to widen it out to maybe 100 or 120 characters. So in pixels, I like to start off with the line length of about 350 pixels, and then I widen it out to about 650 pixels. Now, the way you can shorten this line length on your particular page is to actually embed the opt-in form to the right of the content. Like, have the opt-in form on the right and the text to the left, put more copy, and then you could maybe put another opt-in form at the bottom. And I know that there's been some marketers that have been testing this where there's two email opt-ins on each page like this, where you'll have the copy to the left, the opt-in form to the right, then you'll have a centered content, some bullets, and then you'll have another opt-in form below that. And that tends to convert a little bit higher than just a one opt-in page.
So in general, it sounds like it's better to err on the side of putting in more opt-in forms, right?
Yeah, so one of the main things people realize, I mean, more opt-in forms can look very spammy, and it could, if it's overdone, it could look bad. But I think having 2 opt-ins with the right amount of content on a page, it could still look okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. So on this page, the main goal really is to shorten the line length, because the line lengths are too long, and I'm worried that people will see it and won't read it because of how long the lines are. I mean, this is based off of some testing that I've seen, and it's also based on that psych study where they found that people didn't like to read long line lengths. And if you look at things like the New York Times, you know, there's a reason why the front page is all short line lengths, because it gets people to click over to the full page.
Yeah.
So that was that for this page.
Okay. Doable.
Now, the main source of leads for your site, I imagine, is your blog. Right?
Well, it should be. It's not. I mean, the traffic, I see that the traffic that comes in, you know, that's hitting a blog, a post, is not converting as well as I would like it to. So I definitely want your advice there.
All right. So, do you have an approximate percentage of what it's converting at right now?
For a blog
or
post?
Not off the top of your head?
No, I don't know off the top of my head for a blog post. We did put in here at the bottom. This is directly ripped off from Derek. It has this little box. If you enjoyed this article, join more than 10,000 others and get your free weekly marketing to-do list. That's directly ripped off Derek's blog, and that definitely has helped. We have that at the bottom of every post now. But I mean, on my homepage, my opt-in is about 10%. It's really high, and then, you know, on the it's always going to be lower on a blog post, but I want it to be higher. I don't remember what it is, but I want it to be higher.
If it makes you feel any better, you might have jacked that, but I jacked that feature box idea from you, and mine's been converting about 10% also.
Nice.
So, give and take. So here's the one problem that I'm seeing with your blog is, I mean, if I go to your blog category, I don't even know where I can subscribe, and I see you have, for people who want to make an impact online but don't know where to begin, join the dash. That's your call to action for this page. Here's something interesting I just learned about, and I learned this by ClickTail. I installed ClickTail on socialtriggers.com, and I know you've seen it where I have those things in the sidebar like building an email list 101 or increasing online sales.
Yeah.
I thought that would help channel people to those pages. But when I was looking at eye tracking and mouse movement, people's mouses and eyes like almost skipped over that almost every time. And the reason why I think that was happening is I think they were seeing it and thinking it was an ad as opposed to a call to like some content. So I think you do really well with maybe getting rid of that little ad and instead just embedding an opt-in form on that particular, right there in that box. And I would actually put the opt-in form above subscribe to this blog, and I would get rid of search completely because I think search is useless.
What? You would get rid of it completely?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people say, well, a lot of people who have search there, the people who use it the most are the blog owners. I've used search on all different types of sites. I've used it on Social Triggers. I've used it on, I had an entertainment site that was doing 100,000 people a day, and I kept finding that my search volume was almost non-existent.
Yeah.
So I hated devoting space to it. When, I mean, you could actually see your search volume. When you click search, it appends something to the URL. You could actually check to see how many of those pages are being loaded in your analytics. But I'd be very surprised if it was more than, 1% of 1%.
Yeah. You know, you're right that I use it all the time, which is probably why I think that other people use it. But I use it because I'm thinking, oh, I want to find this post so I can load it up in a tweet, or so I can reference it in something that I'm doing. So I search my own blog, but yeah, I'm probably the only one.
Yeah, so what you can do is just go to Google, type in whatever you're searching for, and type in URL /LauraRoeder.com, and just use Google to search your site. I mean, it's more efficient that way anyway.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So move the opt-in form basically where the search form is. And of course, build the credibility into the opt-in. Like right now, when I visit your blog homepage, I don't realize that you're a big deal. I don't see that there's 10,000 people on the list. The only thing I'm seeing the only proof that I'm getting of this blog is that you have one comment on creating systems to grow your business. And that's not very impressive. No. The only data that you're really showing to me is that you have one comment. And I think you need to kind of counteract that by making people realize that, this is the real deal here, by having the opt-in form above and let them know that there's 10,000 people who are listening to you.
Let me ask you this. Do you ever find, this number is actually much higher. Sometimes I get worried that if the number's too high, that's going to be like unbelievable or people aren't going to identify with it. I'm just curious, have you ever seen any studies of like if the number can get too high or is higher better?
Actually, we did a split test on DIY themes where we saw having social proof actually lowered our conversion rate.
Wow.
Lowered it. And when we took the social proof off, the rate went up by like 100% or something like that. I'd like to rerun that because it was very weird to me.
Yeah.
There's a few problems with the test. Like I had it was originally, blog headline, the headline of free updates. Then it was join 10,000 more people, then opt-in form, then button. And I suspect that maybe putting the join 10,000 people above the form kind of distracted people. And I think putting the amount of people who are reading your site below the form might be a little bit better. And some people did complain that when they see 10,000 people, they feel like they're just on some list and they're another person in the crowd.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I see why that's an issue, but I don't know if I would worry about that because I think you're not selling to the smart, you're selling to a sophisticated audience. They know how they have an idea of email marketing. They have an idea of social media. They understand how this all works. Whereas maybe in a business that isn't your business, like weight loss or something, that might be a little bit different.
Right. Well, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you mean about when you look at this, you don't really know if I'm legit. What else would you add to put in more social proof, like as soon as you hit the blog?
Okay, so I would definitely have the opt-in form mentioning some numbers to the right. Second, I would de-emphasize the amount of comments that you have on your blog posts. And the way to do that is you have it currently at the bottom of the post and you have it at the top of the post. I would maybe only leave it at the bottom of the post. And I think that might hide it, and it might get people. Then the only thing that they'll be seeing is the 10,000 people number into the right or something like that.
Yeah.
You could also use some of your logos. I mean, you have those nice logos on your homepage where you've been featured in all these different areas. You could even put an opt-in form. What I tend to do is, I don't know if you've seen it, I have an opt-in form with no social proof, and then a form, and then below it I have a quote from Chris Brogan saying, "I'm totally loving social triggers." That has done wonders. Having that little quote right after the button has really helped my conversion significantly. And I still get people emailing me saying, "How'd you get Chris Brogan to say that about your site?" You know what I mean? So having a quote below your call to action button might do that. Having a number for how many people are on your list might do it. And de-emphasizing comments, and then maybe show some logos in the sidebar.
Yeah. And I was thinking also I could just change, like here at the bottom it just says one comment. I could just change that to say like comments. Like you just click if you want to see the comments. It doesn't have to have a number at all.
Yeah, so you can do that also. I don't like the idea of getting rid of the comments because people might think that, there might be some posts that have comments and they might want.
Yeah, I'm not saying get rid of them, but none of my posts have it. It's not a high comment blog. I mean, I usually don't get more than like maybe a post will get like 20 comments.
Yeah, I think you should experiment with that. I wouldn't over promote the fact that you have you don't want to give data to people that is unimpressive. Like on social triggers, I don't show my my numbers because I think that it's only 10,000 people. That's not that impressive, even though it's a lot. I think it's not impressive enough for me to show as much as my comment count, where I know you've been to my site. I get like over 100, between 80 and 100 comments on articles. And I make that number really, really big. I don't know if you've seen it, but that number's large on purpose. Because I want people to see like, oh man, this guy's got 100 comments. This must be the real deal. Whereas 10,000 for me wasn't that impressive.
So I think that's a great takeaway. Show off whatever is big for you. So for me, I have hardly any comments, but I have a ton of people on my Facebook page. I have a ton of people that follow me on Twitter. So that's maybe those are a little a little metric, you know, and maybe it would even be valuable to have
That-
a little, like, not a whole big Facebook widget, but a little like box with just a number next to it of how many people like me.
Exactly. Have you ever seen 80 Business site where she's got like 25,000 monthly readers or something like that
Yeah.
in the top corner?
Yeah.
That's another example, you know, where you could figure out your data that you want to show and then choose the data that's most, you know, that shows the best side of you.
Yeah.
You know, and hide, and it's called, I call this in that ebook I wrote, Nonverbal Website Intelligence, I call it eliminating negative engagement evidence. And it's all about just eliminating negative social proof. Like if you have poor social proof, don't show that social proof. Highlight social proof that's better than what you don't have.
Right, right. Okay.
All right. Now, here's where you might kill me.
Oh, no.
But I hate the archives thing on the sidebar. I hate I hate the live tweets about Laura.
Why do you hate, but that's good social proof. Why do you hate that?
I mean, I would love to see if anyone actually clicks on that. I bet nobody clicks on that. I bet nobody even reads it.
Well, yeah, I can't really argue with you there. It's not very fetching.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have. I just don't. And then, you know, why are you going to spend all your time driving traffic to your site just to send the traffic to Twitter?
Yeah, I tell people that all the time, so.
Yeah, I would get rid of that. And the other thing is I like topics, but I would even get rid of that too. And the reason why is I would create, I've told a few people to do this, and I think in your particular sense, it's no different. I think you need to create content buckets, like little content-rich resource pages where you'll pick a topic like blogging, then you'll have some introductory content, an opt-in form, and then links to 5 to 10 articles about blogging. And you could do the same thing for each one of your categories where you actually turn your topics pages where you're just not showing regular blog posts. You're actually creating these special pages to show off these articles with opt-in forms and introductory content. And this works really, really well because when people visit, I mean, you're probably like every other blog where most of our traffic hits our content pages. And that's because, you know, coming from search engines, social media, but most of the traffic hits the content pages. When people read the content, if they don't like that specific content, they usually look for what they can do next. So they'll naturally click on your navigation bar. They might click on your topics. Now imagine if they're not clicking on your navigation, but they see instead of topics, it says resources and then links to maybe 5 or 6 links. Where if they click on one of those links, it's going to be another opt-in form with some more articles there. So it's kind of like channeling intent where you're going to give people what they want and then ask for an email along the way.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. And I need to improve it, but I have made a few of those. Like if you go to my homepage, you can see below my main box, it's like Facebook marketing, or if you go to lauraroeder.com /Facebook-marketing, it's like a little resource page about Facebook marketing. I'll definitely make the opt-ins better. I know there's no opt-in at the bottom, so I've gotten some advice from you on that. And so I could just add to this page also maybe some like a little directory of blog posts about it too.
Yeah, this is perfect. Like if you showed off these 3 things that you have on your homepage, social media marketing, Twitter marketing, and Facebook marketing, if you showed those 3 links as resources, maybe added a few links in there to other articles of yours, you'll find that those pages will generate a lot of leads for you.
Makes sense. Yeah, I didn't think to put them in that topics or resources, whatever I call it, section, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a great idea. I mean, a lot of people have been doing this. I've been doing it on Social Triggers. I know Copy Blogger does it with his categories. We're doing it on DIY themes. I know Ramit Sethi does it on I Will Teach You to Be Rich. So they're using this stuff, and it just, you can't really fight with it because it really, when you see it, you're going to see how much it's going to generate a ton of leads. And then even better is if you get those pages ranking for things like Facebook marketing or Twitter marketing or social media marketing, then you've got cold traffic hitting your site and you're converting new people into your funnel that might have never heard of you before.
Yeah, and this page is actually ranking really well, especially the Facebook marketing one.
Yeah, so you want to turn that into a better page for sure, and it might even rank higher once you blow it out. Once you add all these links to different Facebook stuff, and it actually might help the ranking because you're making it a more complete page, and Google likes complete pages.
Okay, so what about my homepage?
All right, let's take a look at your homepage. I love the feature box. As I've told you, I've stolen this idea from you, and I've told everyone else to use this. And it just converts great. I mean, I think mine's converting right around 10% like yours, and I wouldn't change anything about that. The one thing I would change is I would put an opt-in form in the footer area of this site. Like, you've got the recent post, testimonial. I'll put an opt-in form there. Because if people get all the way down there, you know, they might not realize to scroll back up to opt in. I mean, I put an opt-in form in my footer on my site, and it's getting me, it's not converting really high, but it's getting enough emails that I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think below the fold there is a good place for the opt-in form because it's right, you know, you got the as featured in, you've been on BlogHer, the Times, and when people see that, they might think, all right, let me opt in. Maybe you could even put the opt-in form above the social proof there. And then like a small little opt-in form above it where people might do that. And I would also experiment with making it black and white so you're not calling so much attention to the logos, but showing the logos exist.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, you got more than 10,000 subscribers. I hate these side things. Oh, they do work. I kind of like that. Do you see that people are clicking the slideshow?
Yeah, you know what's funny? I actually... at first I just had this one box, but then when I looked at a heat map of my site, that little right arrow was being clicked more than almost anything. And before, when you clicked it, the site went like, wah, 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 like it just didn't do anything. And I thought people are clicking this thinking that it's broken. So what's kind of funny is I get no opt-ins on this next one. I mean, clearly I just need to improve the copy and stuff, but like nobody opts in. The only reason it's there is so people will have something else to look at because people click that little right arrow like crazy.
You know what would be really interesting? And this would be, I mean, it kind of, this is what I would do in your situation. If people click that right arrow like crazy, I would make the headline, look, you just couldn't resist clicking that arrow, right? Opt in here to get the study where I show you why this right arrow is so important or something like that. And that's like a targeted call to action where you could then go in and create a short video about why you added that click there. And you could talk about that research that you found. And that might be a good call to action for that.
Okay, you do that because that's more your alley. What I'm going to do, because I don't know that stuff, I'm going to write something like, you had to click that right arrow, didn't you? I guess you really want to sign up. And then I can just put an opt-in for the same thing on that second one.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would I would try a tongue-in-cheek approach there, but if you're finding it's not converting, I'd get rid of the arrows.
Yeah, the only reason I haven't gotten rid of them is just because, you know, it's like built into how the theme is, but yeah, that's easy to take off.
Yeah.
And you can do the study about why people click on the arrows. That one's all yours.
Yeah. And then the take me to the video. Oh, there's an error there. If you click on the take me to the video page, it's an error. Maybe that might be. I think maybe people are clicking over to the next and clicking take me to the free video page, and the error's out.
Oh.
Not realizing that they need to enter their name and email first.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it just goes to, oh yeah, that looks really bad. What gets pulled up?
Yeah, maybe because, you know, your opt-in button looks like a submit on the previous, whereas here it's this bigger button where you might make that just say submit where people don't necessarily realize. Maybe people are clicking that is what's happening here.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Or, you know, I think if I just, because the problem with how I have this set up is name and email get really buried, especially because Take Me to the Free Video is so prominent. I think if I just made Take Me to the Free Video like a big green box that had name and email inside of that big green box, I bet it would be clearer.
Yeah, definitely try that out. That might explain why that wasn't converting though, because the error link. I see your Roeder about. You're linking to Roeder.com trademarks. Find a Ning network.
That's just some stupid plugin that I have that like messed up our homepage.
Find a Ning network.
It's not supposed to be there.
Oh, okay.
That's just a random.
Well,
There you are.
is Find a Nig Network a very popular page on your site?
No, it's just some. Wait, no, it's just a total mistake in every way.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry for calling that out. I didn't realize. All right. So we talked about the blog. We talked about shop. Let me take a look at your services page. This is another.
I'm gonna get rid of that.
Oh, you are? What about the speaking page? You're gonna keep that?
Well, okay. Actually, tell me your opinion on this. So one reason that I have, so my business isn't a services business. It's not a consulting business. And that is very confusing to people. I have to explain it 10 different times before people understand that I'm not a traditional consultant. So in some ways, I think, well, I need to have a services page so that people like can understand what I do, even though I don't do services, because that's what they're looking for. Does that make any sense? But then the other side of me thinks, well, now I'm just really confusing them. Why do I have a services page at all? You know?
Yeah, I like the idea of a services page, but I would almost turn your services page into like, look, I'm currently not accepting clients, but I do have training programs for you. But what I would definitely do is if you're going to get rid of the services page, do not delete the speaking page. I think the speaking page is really, really important. I'm actually working on creating one for myself because especially when you're doing a personal brand like this, it kind of really builds the credibility. When people see you, it's like, when people see that you speak on stage, you're automatically an expert, because why are you on stage?
Yeah.
So I think the speaking page is vital. And maybe if you're going to get rid of services, I think people are looking for services because they want to know what they can buy from you.
Right.
Whereas shop, they might not necessarily realize that that's where they can go buy stuff.
I know, exactly. That was sort of my thought. That was sort of my thought, too, on having it on there. So do you think that there should be a services page that says, hey, check out the training programs?
Yeah, you could say, you could kind of have a services page that just says, I'm not a traditional consultant. I create training products where you could get this, home study type stuff or something along those lines. And link to your products page. I think that might be a little bit better.
That makes sense. And then I can put speaking under the about section.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely want to have speaking. Free stuff is perfect. I think contact is good. I'm thinking about deleting my contact page because I don't like getting emails. But do you find that you're actually getting business inquiries through contact?
Yeah. Also, I mean, for me, because it is, it's a product business, so we have to have a really easy way for customers to get in touch with us.
All right, makes sense. Makes complete sense.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's pretty much it. The only other thing that I would recommend is trying to figure out how to work some of these buckets of things that we were talking about, like buckets of content, into your navigation bar. And I don't know how to do that with your particular design, but if you're looking at eye tracking and mouse movements and stuff like that, you're going to find that most people probably see your face first and they drag their mouse to the right over your navigation and then they go down. I found that was true on my site where they saw my logo, then went to the navigation, then they would scroll down. And it actually is something that I have to improve on my site also, where you need to put something that is really an irresistible click in that particular navigation. Right now you have about, I'm sure that's getting a high click rate, and I'm sure free stuff is getting a high click rate. And maybe you could work one more thing in there. I don't know what you'd remove for that one more thing,
well,
but
actually, we're
maybe
reworking the design a little, so there definitely can be more room. Something I was thinking about adding, tell me what you think of this. So at the bottom of my site, I have suggested vendors, and that's actually a really popular page because that's one of the biggest questions we get is like, who do you use to host your website? Who do you use for this and that? And obviously these are all affiliate links, so it's not a big money maker for my business, but I want people to click on them, and people love this page. And so I sort of want to work it into my main navigation, but then I sort of think, maybe it's a distraction. What do you think about that?
I'll tell you what to do. If people love this, you can work this into your main navigation, but turn it into an opt-in page where if you opt in, I'll give you the exact tools I use to run my online business.
Ooh, that's why you're
now
an
you got
genius.
this.
That's really good.
I mean, if people want to know that, I mean, your main goal is emails. Might as well, don't just, I mean, if you're not making very much money as an affiliate,
Right.
obviously they're not buying right away,
Right.
which means if you turn this to an opt-in page, you could even, you have Infusionsoft, so you can create some nice action sequences
Yeah.
with some nice follow-up for that particular page.
Yeah. And what would
That's
you,
what I would
what
do.
would
I
you
would-
call this in the main navigation? It's hard, right?
Maybe suggested tools. Tools is a little
Or
bit more
tools.
descriptive than suggested vendors implies buying, whereas tools implies like here's the tools I use
Yeah.
to.
Or maybe just having just calling it tools.
Yeah, maybe even tools. I mean, that might work great.
Because I feel like people, that's something that I feel like I would click on. I want some tools. Who doesn't want tools?
Yeah, it's true. I actually heard that from another copywriter where you always want to put tools in your copy because people love tools.
It's true.
So I think this is going to be a great opt-in page. I mean, I need to create one right now for my site.
All right. We've given you.
I can't believe I don't have.
Too.
I can't believe I don't have one of these on my site because I get the same thing. Like people see a video and they're like, "Oh, what camera did you use?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, what the hell does it matter? Did you watch the video?" No, they just want to know what camera I use. They don't care what I said. They had me on mute, just trying to reverse engineer my pixel count.
That's true.
I think yeah, this needs to be an opt-in page.
Yeah.
That for sure.
Yeah. Awesome.
Now, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, you got a few different pieces of advice to act on, and I think if you implement this stuff, you're going to see some good results. And I think if people who are listening here implement some of these same things, like content pages, forms in your about page, being a little more descriptive, thinking about top-down flow when people go to a page, is this a top-down flow page or a left-to-right page, and try to figure that out. Eliminate distractions on opt-in pages. You could shorten the line length because even though it looks okay, long lines could potentially turn people off. And even though your most loyal visitors won't care about your line length, it's really they're already there. You want to impress the people who don't know you yet, so that might turn them off. And you want to kind of eliminate any obstacle towards opting into your site that may exist, and I think that might be one of them. You want to streamline your sidebar so that you're showing off your opt-in pages, your resources, instead of things like archives or topics or things that don't necessarily help you get the things that you're trying to get out of your site. And I think when you implement that to the blog, you should be able to get some higher conversion rates for your traffic there also.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been really valuable. I'm definitely going to put your suggestions in place and let you know how they work. I think you just made me a lot of money, Derek Halpern.
Cool. You could send me a percentage to my PayPal account.
Nice.
All right, see you later.
Thanks.